Hey everyone, today we're going to look at 5 reasons why you as a content creator need a NAS. So a NAS is network attached storage, and we're not going to get too technical here, but that basically means that all of your data is stored on a central location and you can access it from your different computers through your network. So the reason I'm making this video is because content creators are generally focused on creating content. And while that's great and that's the most important thing you can focus on, it's also important to ensure that your data stays safe and is accessible when you need it. A friend of mine used to be a videographer, and I went over to his studio one day, and as soon as I got there, there was 15 to 20 external hard drives littered around the office, and I was always questioning why he had that. And I asked, and his reason was that he just didn't have enough space. So anytime he would fill one up, he'd buy another one, and then he'd throw it in the corner, and he knew that he had a certain amount of projects on that external hard drive. And when he had to, he'd get another one and another one and another one, and before he knew it, he had between 15 and 20 external hard drives littered around the office. Now, there are many reasons why that's bad, but we're not going to look at why that's bad. We're going to look at why you need a NAS. So the first reason we're going to look at is redundancy. Now, we're not going to get too technical here, but it's important to know what redundancy is and how you can implement it. So if you look at my friend's example, he had an external hard drive and he had client's data on that external hard drive. But if anything happened to that external hard drive, he lost all of those files. And as you know, hard drives don't last forever. So what a NAS allows you to do is it allows you to set up a RAID array. And what a RAID array is depending on the type of RAID array you select, it allows one of your hard drives to become inoperable and you won't lose any data. So I put an image on the screen that is a RAID 5 setup. And what this means is you don't have to worry about all the letters that it has, but just look at the bottom. You'll see disk 1 through 4. RAID 5 allows you to lose any disk and you won't lose any of the data. So that means if you have disk 2, a second hard drive, and it breaks, it goes bad, it's not working, you're not going to lose any of your data. What you do is you take it out, you put a new hard drive in at the same size, and then the RAID array will rebuild that. So it really protects you from any of your hard drives actually failing. It doesn't matter which hard drive it is. It's just important to know that you could lose any of your hard drives and you won't lose any of your data. So if you compare that to the external hard drive example, if he loses that external hard drive, that data is gone forever. But if he had 5 hard drives hooked up in a NAS and he had all of his data stored on there, if one of the drives failed, he loses nothing. This alone is a huge reason why you should consider a NAS if you're a content creator. A second reason is that having a NAS allows you to access your data remotely. So there are a lot of cloud providers out there. If you look at the Google Drives, the Dropboxes, the OneDrives of the world, but the common theme between all of them is that the more storage you use, the higher the cost is. So the best thing about your NAS is that when you purchase it and you purchase your hard drives and you configure it, you're never going to pay for storage again unless you need to expand that storage space. So your hard drive data will be accessible to you at your house, at your office, on the go, wherever you are, you'll always have it. They have mobile apps, they have desktop apps, they have everything that you need. So rather than purchasing a cloud service, you kind of have the ability to make your own cloud service, and you are the one that determines the costs. So you can keep costs down and you can utilize a bunch of other features that the NAS will provide. Now, the third reason is something that every single content creator should be doing that I'm sure a lot of people aren't doing. So everybody knows that backups are important, and what most people end up doing is they have their data at their house or in their office, and then they back it up to an external hard drive and it sits right next to their computer. So you have a backup, great. But what happens if a natural disaster, a fire, a flood, something comes and wipes out that entire office, that entire house, anything like that? Now, companies account for this in their BCDR plans, business continuity, disaster recovery. And what that means is that in the event of something catastrophic, how will they secure their data? How will they be able to recover their data? And the way that you do that is through offsite backups. So as a content creator, if you're looking at yourself right now and you're saying that all of your data is in one single place, well, if that data is important to you, then you need to get it offsite. And that's where a NAS can really help. because a NAS will be your central storage location, and then you could back up that NAS to a location offsite. Now, that could be a cloud provider, it could be another NAS, it could be an external hard drive, it could be really a lot of different things. But it all goes back to the basic premise of the 3-2-1 backup, which states that you should have 3 copies of your data in 2 different locations with 1 offsite. So if you do have backups of your data, but you don't have anything offsite, then you know what you need to fix, and a NAS will help you do that. The easiest way to do it is to just back up either your systems to the NAS, and then the NAS to a cloud provider or another NAS like we talked about earlier, or just back up the NAS to a cloud provider. So there's nothing wrong with having 2 copies of the same file on the same hardware. But as long as you have that backup going somewhere off-site, then you're really kind of accounting for everything. If something happens catastrophic and you lose your entire office and every PC in that office, you still have all your data. You still have all your intellectual property. If you don't do something like this, you really should look into it. So the 4th reason is sharing and collaboration. So the majority of content creators, you'll be sharing and collaborating on your files with external parties, whether they're coworkers, friends, family, it depends. But you need to be able to share links to documents with those files. And what ends up happening is that people end up emailing a document, and then the other party opens it, edits it, and sends it back. And then you open, edit it, send it back. You kind of get the point here. You want to be able to work from one central location. So if there's one file that everybody needs to work on, you want to work on that file in one location. And this goes back to our last point of backing up that file. If you're storing the file in various different locations, meaning you have some on your computer, some of the files, a coworker has some on their computer, and you have to put all the pieces together, or worse, there's just different versions on everybody's PC, and now you're trying to figure out which one's the newest version, it just causes a headache that doesn't need to exist. So if you have your data and it's in one central location and everybody's accessing it from that one central location, you won't ever run into that problem. So not only do you have the ability to work on these files with coworkers and friends and family, but you can actually send links to these files to external parties. And you can set that link to expire after a certain time. So let's assume that you're working with a customer and you need to get files to them, but you only, give them 7 days to access these files. You can set an expiration on that link for 7 days, and after 7 days, you know that they can't access those files anymore. So you're kind of preemptively doing work to ensure that your intellectual property is staying secure. So the 5th and final reason is that your data is computer agnostic. So what I mean by that is that your data does not exist on your individual computer. So obviously everybody stores files on their individual computer, but working from a NAS can actually help you ensure that none of your data is stored on your individual computer. So what I mean by that is I have a drive server set up, and what happens is if I save a file to my documents, for example, if I save a file to my documents, it will automatically sync behind the scenes to my NAS. And then from there, I know that my NAS is backing up to the cloud. So at that point, I have my whole 3-2-1 backup scenario set up, and I did absolutely nothing different. So the entire process is automated. So why this is important is because what ends up happening is that a lot of people get to a point where they say, I need my computer to do this. But if you have a NAS available and you're using a tool like I just explained, you can literally get a new computer tomorrow, install the software on the computer, and it will automatically pull down all of your files. So I know anywhere I go, my documents that I have that are stored on my computer, I can just pull them either from a web browser if I needed to, or if my entire computer crashed, or if I got a new computer, or whatever the situation is, I can then install the application on my computer and it will download all of my files to that local computer. And while they, technically you can say they're stored on my local computer, they're actually stored on the NAS. So this really gives you the ability to work from anywhere, any device, anywhere that you have to go. You have all of your data at all times. So these are just 5 reasons why I think that all content creators should have a NAS. And honestly, there's a bunch more. I think that the common theme that most content creators share is that the files that you work on are generally large. If you're a videographer, or if you're making YouTube videos, or you're a photographer, you have a bunch of files that all add up to be a pretty substantial sum when it comes to actual data storage. And if you don't have a way to store those files, and you don't have a way to back up those files, you're really limiting yourself in terms of data security, data integrity, and this will ultimately limit your company's growth. So I acknowledge that if you look at the upfront costs, they're generally high, meaning that you could be looking at potentially a $1,000 to $1,500 charge upfront to get a NAS, to get the hard drives that you need, and kind of configure everything. But if you look at this from a long-term perspective, if you don't have a way to secure your data, and I don't mean secure it from cybersecurity perspective, that obviously is important as well, but I mean secure your data from data loss. If you don't have a way to do that, then you're risking everything. So while a NAS will give you a bunch of benefits, make your life easier, if you're doing it for only one reason, let that one reason be your data security. Make sure that you have your files at all times, no matter what happens in the world. So that wraps up our video for today. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. It really helps me out. I appreciate you for watching. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Thank you.